Hi, I'm Dan.
I'm Olga.
And today we are talking about The Boys Season 2, Episodes 1, 2, and 3 because they released them all together.
And got review bombed for not releasing the rest.
Yes, I personally am quite happy that they are releasing them week to week because that means we can cover the show.
And also it gives us something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Just in a human level. We've been binge watching so many things during quarantine.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to have something to look forward to that isn't just like a completely new commitment.
Yeah. So I thought it was smart how they released this first 3 episodes because I feel like it ended on a good turning point.
It felt like an act 1.
Yeah. I think that it was a great follow-up to season 1. It feels a little bit bigger. It feels like there's more, breathing room, and we know these characters more, and we're getting interesting new characters like Stan and like Stormfront.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was very enjoyable. We have a few criticisms we'll get into, but first we're going to start off with like our highlights, what we really enjoyed from these episodes. And I'm going to start off by saying I really enjoyed the continue sort of corporate discussion or the commentary that the show has. And I think that's one of its strong points for sure. Moments like having Starlight have to say the same thing 30 times to the different news channels.
Yeah. The pressers, as if they were just promoting a movie instead of promoting, and as such, promoting themselves as a product.
Yeah. And the forced feminism that isn't real, and we're having this diversity hire of this blind character, or what would be really great is if we got a woman of color. That would be great. Not because we actually care about diversity, but because our customers do.
It would make us look better.
Yeah.
So it is very much calling out the corporate entities and casting places being given kudos for these things that just should be par for the course.
And it's there's the I don't know what the word is exactly, the disingenuousness of I work in corporate film, and it's make sure there's a black person in this shot, and I'm like, well, you have one black person for every 20 white people, but I guess you want to show the one black person. It's
they're not actually thinking internally about their own policies and who they're hiring and why their employee base looks the way it does. But
it's just about
for marketing purposes.
It's just about the image. You know? So I think a lot of that stuff was great. Another thing that I thought was a definite highlight that I really enjoyed is how they handled Butcher this season.
Yeah.
Butcher is a character that could be off-putting to me personally, but they are handling him, I think, very well. Mm-hmm. When I first heard about this show, and before I watched it and really honestly fell in love with it, I was like, it's called The Boys. I was worried that it would be a little bit too rah.
Yeah, but that it wouldn't actually have a commentary to that grah, macho, testosterone-filled thing. It is the whole thing of Butcher has this tough exterior.
Yeah.
But inside, it really is him acting out from his own pain. I can't let myself truly feel that. I'm going to react with anger and action instead.
Well, and I think the thing that was the wise choice for me is that he isn't the clear main character. Mm-hmm. It would be hard for me to
exclusively root for him.
Be he's especially in these 3 episodes, he's kind of the problem in a lot of ways, and he's it's kind of like when you have the Dwight versus the Jim. It's you don't want Dwight to be the main character,
right?
Because if you focus on him too much, it gets grating.
Yes.
But as you need the straight man to him.
Yeah. And he's the foil to Huey's straight man.
Yeah.
And their conflict this season, or so far this season, and then their reconciliation really works.
Yeah, I think that they balanced the line really well of making him more unlikable than ever, but then also having him, come clean about what he's going for in the end of episode 2,
Mm-hmm.
What happened with Becca, and then in episode 3, especially him making the sort of sacrifice move of giving up the terrorist in order to have the terrorists stop Homelander and save Huey. I thought that was a really great moment that re-solidifies them as a group,
as a team.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about Butcher.
Yeah. definitely it's like they pushed me away from him, even while me being super sympathetic towards his situation. It's that thing of just tell them how you feel, tell them what's going on. And it didn't fix everything at first because he was still being a raging asshole.
Yeah.
But then he opened up, and that's how you do like character progression. He's not changing who he is at his core, but still developing and growing.
Another thing that I thought was great was the tragic thing of Butcher wrote down like where Becca was in crayon, and that ultimately isn't going to be helpful because she's in this like fake Truman Show town.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
So
poor kid.
Actually, while we're here, why don't we talk a little bit about the Homelander situation?
Yeah. I mean, I was so afraid for Becca and their son. I mean, Homelander is a sociopath. He's a psychopath. I'm not going to get into that.
He's crazy.
He has no real feelings. Like, he's imitating what love should be. He doesn't actually care about this kid. He just kind of cares about, like, a legacy, I guess, and what it means to have.
I think it's a little bit more complicated than that.
I think at the end of episode 3, it does show that it's more complicated than that. But as it was happening, like, as it was building up, I was concerned for them because I was like thinking that, Homelander would do anything. He would hurt his kid more severely than just pushing him off of a roof if it meant like showing that, of course, a son of mine is going to be strong and powerful. He's not going to be some weak, girlified little thing. He's toxic masculinity to the nth degree. Yeah.
Well, I think it's also he's searching for a family. I think that's the core of his character, and the thing that gives him layers is he thought he had family in whatever her name, Vivian.
Maeve.
No, I'm talking about last season with Stillwell, yeah. And obviously, fucked up. Oh my god, when he drank the milk, why? We didn't need to see that.
Yeah, it made me
he
very
just
uncomfortable.
Sniffed it, and then the other lady came in.
I mean, it's not just bad enough that he's drinking it. It's the like tongue action. I'm not big on mouth things, so
and that's why after the son like pushes him away, he's like, the 7 is my family. Like he's trying to find some. He feels lonely. He's trying to find some connection.
Yeah, but he's still so like domineering and threatening. No, Becca has to let him in. He's like, you are going to let me into this. This is mine. You are mine. And he even says, like, no one's going to help you. Like, he thinks everyone's afraid of him.
And he's right.
And he's right. But the fact that his son, who he's like, oh, you will also respect me and listen to me. I'm going to make you in my image. Yeah. His son rejects him and chooses his mom. But he does that through his own strength, even though Homelander's the one who like brings the powers out of him. Yeah. Like, I think that really like, you should be grateful to me for making you powerful, but he's not. He chooses his maternal figure instead. Haha. Like, it's Homelander's misogyny as well. Like he with Stillwell, she was both. It was an Oedipus kind of thing. Yeah, and I feel like at least that's kind of done ish.
He still likes his milk.
Speaking of milk.
Well, no, we're not mother's milk yet. Okay. I was actually going to talk about him in relation to Edgar. And the fact that is interesting because Edgar isn't afraid of him. And it's interesting how Homelander reacted to that. And I was sort of struggling with whether I bought that Homelander didn't just crush his skull or something. Like he has some level of deference to Vought and I feel like if someone stands up to him, he doesn't really know how to handle that very well. But it's interesting both from the perspective of Edgar, who does he not understand how fucked up Homelander is, that he's able to stand up to him like that, or and is it believable that Homelander does back down that much?
I think it's I struggled with that believability, but at the same time, Homelander wants to be a hero. Like all the screwed up things that he does of just like murdering people, like how he killed Stillwell. The thing is that Vought, he knows that they hold the cards when it comes to like actually like
raising
him up and giving him this image of being like an American icon. And that's why he's threatened by Stormfront, because it seems like they are now putting someone else as the hero of the country.
Yeah. And I also think that there's a level of what Edgar said to him. He believes that he did fuck up and that it is sort of like a new parental figure, like, you know, actually shaming him. And I thought that was definitely interesting.
We talked about his like messed up relationships with parental figures through his mom. He also didn't have a father figure. He had that the doctor who I guess he paralyzed, who let him know about his son and how he wasn't a father to him. So now in a way it's Mr. Edgar is now the pseudo father figure, and the fact that he's scolding him and putting him in his place, I could see how Homelander would be deferential to that.
Do you think, would you be pro or con Edgar having powers?
Con.
I think it would make a lot of sense if Edgar had powers.
What kind? Like telekinetic?
No, just that he used Compound V on himself as a protective measure. Like, so like he's not doing it to, like, if I'm just saying, if I were him and I had these volatile superheroes or in my control or whatever, I would want a safety net, and I would give myself powers at least to protect myself, right? And I think that would be kind of interesting.
So are you saying that you want him to already have powers, or do you want to have us see him inject Compound V?
I want him to already have powers. I want him to just, like, you know, secretly and
be dosing himself.
Yeah, and not even necessarily be that he uses it very often, just that it's because otherwise I don't know how much I buy his level of blasé attitude towards his heroes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I would like that.
Yeah.
Where his whole thing maybe is just that he's like bulletproof or laserproof or whatever. Really a defense mechanism and that in and of itself is kind of a metaphor, could be a metaphor for like the corporate shield, the bullshit shield that he's so good at manipulating as he does in episode 3, when it seems like, oh, everything's falling apart. But they still find a way to worm themselves out of it.
Yeah, which I think is, again, great corporate commentary.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Stormfront.
Okay. I wish I didn't know that she was going to be a Nazi.
Well, yes.
A white supremacist.
White supremacist, yeah.
Potato. The way she was talking, the way like Annie Starlight was looking up to her, I like really couldn't enjoy that or understand why Vought chose Stormfront for the 7, as she's like so rebellious. Like all of these things, like, oh, it's a good thing she's not taking their corporate shit. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, but they chose a white supremacist who probably has a following for that reason, or does she keep it a secret, or do they not know? It feels like it's Vought's job to know who their heroes are. I don't know. It just made me feel very like ill at ease. And I think it was, I mean, for a lot of people who probably didn't follow the meta news, the fact that she was racist, like so racist at the end before she killed.
I think was definitely meant as a reveal to the audience.
That I was almost like, oh, there it goes. But I don't know. I just wish that was a surprise to me as well. Yeah,
that we had sort of just heard about it when she was cast and stuff. So we're not comic book readers of this particular comic. I think they did a good job of sort of lulling you into a false sense of security with her, where she just don't give a fuck. But that's kind of likable. Obviously, very much her "you're the worst" character.
Yeah,
which we're a big fan of.
We're big fans of good old Gretchen. At first, it really is Gretchen, her character, just this like bitch who doesn't care about what anyone's feelings are. She says what she's thinking. She's very funny, and she's not racist.
So yeah, we really like her from "You're the Worst." And I think at first, I agree with you. I was like, why? Forget about the white supremacist part. I was just like, why would they want this person who doesn't toe the company line at all? But I think that they know that she's capable of reining it, like just going a little far, but you know, publicly, she isn't being this racist person as far as we're able to tell. And I do think it really is about creating that competition with Homelander. Yeah.
And I guess they want that competition with Homelander to make Homelander feel like his position isn't secure, so that again he has to also toe the company line and understands that he still has to report to someone.
Yeah. Which I think makes a lot of sense, and it definitely interesting to have a different, female kind of Homelander character adding into here. So,
because again, Karens of the world are just as bad.
That might be honestly underplaying Stormfront.
No, I just mean to say that, this idea of white supremacy having a male face, and like women are as complicit. White women are as complicit in white supremacy as men, is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Another highlight for me is that they gave Kimiko such an actual storyline this time.
Yeah. That was one of our big complaints
with season one. Yeah, I think that, giving her not only a storyline, but a real motivation going into the rest of the season after what happened to her brother, I think was really good. I think hearing more about her past and seeing her connect with her brother, I thought was well done.
The thing that we took issue with a lot with season one is the fact, of the politics or the ickiness of the fact that it's an Asian woman who has no voice. Like, she could not communicate effectively.
Yeah. And especially
in a show called The Boys.
Yeah, and especially when she's the only woman in the group.
Yeah. So that felt really off. And the fact that she was able to speak through the sign language with her brother, and that they explained she was mute since their family was killed and they were taken by this terrorist organization. I just really appreciated her being able to speak to someone for herself.
I think it's definitely a complicated thing with a character like her because, I think it's good to have representation of different, I guess disabilities. Is that what we're going to call it?
Yeah.
But there is something just intrinsically a little bit when the female character doesn't have a voice. And also because I think it went beyond just she didn't physically have a voice. I felt like she was kind of just there for Frenchie in a lot of ways last season, and wasn't given a lot of her own moments. So I'm glad that they did this. I thought it was well handled. I liked the stuff with her brother for sure.
She felt very central to episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah, definitely.
And yes, it was through also her relationship with another man, but at least this is
her brother.
A family member, and it's not about romance.
Yeah. Just gonna knock off a couple quick highlights. I really like the sequence near the beginning of the first episode with that pressure song, and sort of connecting Starlight and Huey back together. I really like their relationship, and am interested in seeing more of that. I loved everything they gave Starlight in these episodes. The only thing I struggle with is I still don't buy that she might have actually killed Huey. It almost looked for a second like she was gonna do it, and I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I think she would have, could have, but she would have been traumatized by it.
All right, so let's get into some of our criticisms. I'm going to knock out the minor ones first. The minor ones are, I feel like A-Train and Maeve are both kind of stagnant in these episodes.
Yeah, A-Train, has a heart attack. We know he has heart issues because of the compound V at the end of season 1. And then here he is ever since he wakes up. Yes, he has the scenes with Starlight, but overall we see his cardiac issues still continuing.
Yeah.
It makes sense that wouldn't be resolved, but at the same time, I feel like they're not really adding anything to it.
Yeah, and it just feels like a lot of his conversations with Starlight were just going around in circles to me. I also to me so far, I'm kind of I don't know that I needed him to come back in season 2. I feel like I got what I needed out of him last season, but
hopefully they do more to make his character feel worth it. Maybe a redemption arc of some kind.
Well, I think he's just around as a ticking time bomb for telling on Starlight, honestly. But we'll see. As for Maeve, I think Maeve is good. I like Maeve. I like her whole storyline with her girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. I think that it has also felt a little stagnant. I feel like every scene we've had with her for most of season 1 and 2 has been kind of the same thing.
Yeah. She's afraid of Homelander / afraid of what he'll do to her ex-girlfriend. but also we as the audience like knew that's what was going on. Yeah. So the fact that it took her this long to just say it felt, I don't want to say unnecessary, but again, also kind of going around in circles.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is good that she got to that level, and we also got the movement forward that Homelander heard the name of the girl. But I still feel like, it was just, I felt like the scenes were too long and too many for what they accomplished.
Yeah. Again, I think it does set the two things in motion of Homelander's rejected by his biological, so to speak, family. And therefore he's going back to Maeve again as like whenever things don't really work out for him, he's like, you're still there as my footstool.
As my toy.
Yeah.
I want to talk also about Mother's Milk and Frenchie, who I like both actors, and I think that they're good and enjoyable to watch. I think they both need fleshing out. For me, Mother's Milk, I never felt like they explained well enough why he went back with Butcher in season 1, given his family and everything like that. We don't know why he has a personal issue with Soups. We don't know his history, and I feel like by now I should know and know what was worth it to him to sacrifice all of that stuff. And also, like, if you really think about it, he hasn't actually even done very much. He speaks a lot, but like, they talk a lot about like, oh, we're a team, blah, 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 blah. It's like they don't actually show them working as a team very often.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that needs a little work. I think Frenchie also has been a little one note since Kimiko got here, and it's just like his entire world is around Kimiko. And I want a little bit more fleshed out there.
Yeah,
personally.
They have him kind of, again, like orchestrating their safety and whatever in the background. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. His entire character is based off of his relationship instead of hers off of him right now. So that's, a little role reversal. But I do appreciate them like standing up for and standing with Huey.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice because in season 1, they very much like also beat him up and we're on Butcher's side. So
I did like also though that I did think it was good for Frenchie that he's the one who called Butcher.
Yeah,
that shows a difference between him and Mother's Milk. I feel like that I feel like Frenchie really does feel like a need for Butcher in a way that MM doesn't necessarily.
I hope they flesh both of them out and they have more to do and more going on. And
then our biggest issue is the deep.
Nothing deep about it.
I don't understand what they're doing with this character, and I don't find the comedy funny. I don't want to sympathize with him. I don't care what his backstory is or what his struggles are. He's a rapist, and I don't give a shit. Yeah, there's reasons for what he did. I don't want to watch Kevin Spacey and see why he did what he did. He is, you can't make a Harvey Weinstein equivalent character or a Louis equivalent character and then try to make them sympathetic or funny. Yeah,
I think God, the scene with his talking gills, just like, I understand it was supposed to be cringy, right? It was supposed to be like awkward and make him seem like dumb and also just like lame or whatever. Pathetic. That's the word I'm looking for. But at the same time, like, you cast Patton Oswalt, who is a very recognizable like voice and funny like comedian as that, and you have them sing, and I'm not finding it cringy because it's awkward. I'm finding it cringy because it is, I can't reconcile this character's actions with what they're sort of putting him, like the position they're putting him in. Like, he is a victim, as all of the Soup babies are, and that they didn't have a choice when their parents had them injected with Compound V. He's living with the consequences of actions that weren't his own. Okay, like, all right, that is tragic in its own way. But they only sort of touch on, after all of this like pseudo comedy, they touch on him showing up in episode 3 at the site of where the boys like crash land and Starlight confronting him.
I do think that was the best scene of him.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's no longer like about him. Like, he just has to take it, and he's desperate, and again, it's him being pathetic in a way that isn't funny or isn't, I don't know how to put it. It's not sympathetic towards him.
Well, that's the thing. I think the problem is whenever they do the scenes that are based around him without Starlight, it feels like I can't tell what the creators want out of me in this scene. Do they want me to sympathize with him? Do they think it's just fun to make fun of a bad person? Or are they like, I don't like, to me, it's like you can't, like, so much of the jokes are just Aquaman jokes. And I'm like, that you can't have just like the dopey, pathetic superhero character also be a rapist. I'm like, I'm not going to just laugh at the Aquaman
dopey,
jokes.
Like every time he tries to get his animal companions, the animal companions get hurt.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha, his powers are lame.
Yeah. It doesn't work for me. It would have been one thing if he was just like, oh, I slept with a lot of women and treated them sort of badly.
If he was more of a like Barney from How I Met Your Mother character, who I think in a way, not for everyone, but time has kind of shown that character to be very grimy.
Yeah.
He's not just grimy. He is a rapist.
Yeah.
Not Barney, the Deep, sorry.
Yeah.
He's not just some womanizer who doesn't care about feelings because he won't connect with his own. It's worse than that.
Yeah. Even if they had gone with like an Aziz Ansari sort of situation where like, obviously that, to me, that's a more gray area than what the Deep did. I think that could have helped a little bit, but I just feel like they should have made, I still feel like they should have just made Translucent half the storyline that in the premiere and the pilot that the Deep had.
Yeah.
They should have just had that character. He was already a perv, already a creep, have him do that to Starlight and then kill him. Like, you know, like I don't need to see that character again. That's...
I mean, it's interesting to say a show full of killers and murderers who do all these awful things is like, and you know, I talk about like, what if they somehow redeem A-Train who like exploded Robin and killed his girlfriend? I'm like, oh, what if they do something good with it? And that in my brain is something that is more feasible to try to accomplish than the Deep. But I think in some ways that is more feasible because they keep digging themselves deeper and deeper, with him and this like weird humor.
Yeah.
And now they have him like being manipulated by a cult.
Yeah. Which I just don't care about.
I mean,
I think that was also meant to be as a commentary to be like, oh, this is how celebrities get out of things that they find God. And I did think it was good.
Scientology-esque kind of
I thought it was good how hollow the things he said came off when he was talking about the church stuff to the Seven.
Yeah.
I thought that worked. It has its ups and downs, like, but I just... I think, to me, personally, I don't want A-Train to be redeemed.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying in my brain, I'm like, they might attempt it and maybe it'll work.
And I think, but like, if I'm taking away, put A-Train away, so let's talk about Homelander, right?
Yeah.
Who is a, serial killer, awful human being who we enjoy watching, but I don't sympathize with him.
No.
I don't feel like the show is trying to make me think it's okay that he did what he did, or like, like they flesh him out, but they don't try to make him the butt of the joke, or it's very unclear what I'm supposed to feel about the Deep from this show.
Yeah.
And that is what's uncomfortable to me.
It makes every scene with him where just a big question mark that makes me resent seeing this character and the fact that we're wasting time on him when there are other more interesting characters that deserve fleshing out.
Well, and my other thing is it's also all the same joke over and over again.
Yes, that's what I meant by every time a sea creature shows up, he gets them killed.
Yeah.
Every time he's around the Seven, they're like, we'll figure you out later. You're an afterthought.
Yeah. It just feels like a lot of the same stuff.
Again, are they trying to do a commentary on like men's body positivity as well?
Yeah, so that's the thing that also bothers me as a guy who does have like body image issues, and I feel like you could create a character that would be interesting to talk about men's body issues too, but I don't want to watch this rapist's body issues. I don't get anything positive out of that. And I also don't like the implication that because he has body issues, he rapes people.
Yeah, your trauma doesn't excuse your shitty behavior because there are plenty of traumatized people out there who aren't rapists.
Yeah. And on that note,
that to me is really the most infuriating thing about this show.
Yeah.
Season 1 through season 2.
Yeah. But overall, definitely like the show. And I'm excited to see how they handle Stormfront going forward as one of the most, to me, it's one of the more interesting aspects.
She's a wild card.
And again, that's also a little worrying because, that can also be handled in uncomfortable ways. So,
well, again, it's one thing to make the audience uncomfortable. Like, it's okay to make people feel uncomfortable. It's how you handle the payoff of those feelings.
Yeah.
Homelander makes me feel hella uncomfortable, but there's been really good payoff there.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you thought about these episodes in the comments down below. We will be back next week after episode 4 to talk about that. And I hope you're doing okay.